class of 2022 graduate, Jacob Yount.
Yes.
And the winner of our 2021 annual Playfest competition. Before we begin, I have a few brief announcements. Firstly, the show runs about an hour long and there will be no intermission. In case of an emergency, we have an exit right here and in the back of the house downstairs. The trigger warnings for tonight's show are islands and mentions of death. Also, please take a moment to silence all cell phones and mobile devices. The Rice players would also like to give a special thank you to John and Elizabeth Rose for making theater free for all students. And finally, if you are a playwright, please consider submitting to our 2022 annual Playfest competition for a chance for your play to be produced. And without further ado, here's To Love a Lilac.
Thank you, ma'am. Just call me Caroline. We'll be living together, so we should get familiar. Have you visited Massachusetts before?
No, I haven't, ma'am. I haven't seen so many trees blooming outside the city before.
Isn't the countryside splendid? And I do hope Daniel drove you here all right. Don't tell me he talked your ear off the whole way.
Oh, I asked him to. It's amazing everything he knows about this place.
Yes, that lovely old man has worked here nearly longer than me.
Is it really true that President Lincoln came here?
It is. Mr. Lincoln was a good friend of Dackard Sr. We hosted quite the extravagant banquet in his name. And dear Leonard, just a boy then, mind you, whispered to me how funny the poor man's hat looked. My, that was ages ago.
Wow, I'm really standing in the Dackard estate.
We do so get the occasional onlooker trying to get a peek inside. Mr. Dackard has had quite enough of the unwanted attention.
Is that why he sold the company? I'm sorry, it's just been all over the papers. It's a shame that this estate is all that's left.
Don't worry about us, dear. I still remember the large grin he had on his face when he broke the news to his blasted business partners. And good riddance. Our drawing room nearly turned into a boxing ring. I was forced to shoo the whole lot out of the house.
Are you the only one still working here?
Well, we still have the outside help. You already met Daniel. He delivers our groceries and mail, a sweet man. And then there's Thomas. He fixes the grounds and works any odds and ends around the house.
So, what will I do? The letter wasn't very specific, just that Mr. Dackard wanted to meet me.
Oh, don't you worry about that now till tomorrow. You just arrived.
Oh, of course. Yes? It's just, the papers say quite harsh things about his, demeanor.
Oh, those headlines. I promise you, Leonard has always been a gentleman. Only his mistakes ever make the front page. Even so, be certain to not disturb him while he's in his office. That room is my responsibility alone.
Leonard Dackard, the Karen Mogul of the whole United States. This is all rather exciting.
Please always address him as Mr. Dackard.
Oh, of course. Wait, this is Rockland's work.
I'm sorry, who?
Peter Rockland. He's the most up-and-coming realist artist on the East Coast. I've practiced his style many times.
Wait, you mean that short fellow with the crusty brown hair?
Wait, you've met him?
Well, I only remember... Ah, yes, his voice was so nasally, and was always asking Leonard to stand still.
He's a contemporary genius. I hope to become half as good as he is one day.
You enjoy painting?
Yes, it's what I do to keep busy most days. My grandparents swear I'm gifted, so I barely even leave the house. The lessons are exhausting, and reporters now wait for me just around the block. It is thrilling, but most days it's easier to ignore all that and just paint.
Well, what about your parents? What do they think about your newfound fame?
They
I'm so sorry.
No, it's quite all right. I never knew them, so it's never really bothered me. And my grandparents really are wonderful. Just protective is all.
Well, we're glad you're here. I'll make sure to bring some paints up to your room later if you'd like.
Thank you. I'll even use this as inspiration. It's perfect. Is that his wife?
Yes, that is Mrs. Sarah Dackford. She lives separate from the estate and visits on occasion.
Well, I look forward to meeting her.
For now, I'll need your help around the house.
Oh? I thought I was just going to paint for you all.
Only after your duties. You are to keep the house ready for Mrs. Dackford to arrive at a moment's notice. You will clean her room, wash all of her clothing, refill each vase in the house every day, and follow Mr. Dackford's requests exactly. And there's no alcohol in the house. Is that clear?
Yes, sorry, ma'am. Absolutely.
You'll be just fine, Lillian. Mr. Dackford can just be a bit particular at times. And remember, it's Caroline.
Thank you. Is there anything else I should know?
I swear, Caroline, Leonard is a tyrant.
Thomas, stop tracking dirt in here. Mr. Dackford will blow another gasket.
Let him, for all I care. I'd rather risk another one of his insults than trek halfway around the property again.
Thomas, behave yourself. Miss Lillian Weber, this is Thomas, an intolerable piece of work.
Wait, the Lillian Weber? Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. And Caroline, it's Mr. Hollister, especially when you're introducing me to a celebrity.
You're too kind, Mr. Hollister.
Thomas, this mess.
I'm sorry, just rushing to get home.
Is Theo all right?
Yes, just Miss Donovan can't stay late tonight. I promise I'll make it up to you.
Oh, don't worry about it. Just make sure to paint the porch railing before you go. Mr. Dackford wants a fresh coat on it by morning.
Again. I've repainted it twice already, always according to Sarah's liking. He's getting worse, Caroline.
Thomas?
All right. All right, I'm leaving. Till we meet again, Miss Weber. See you ladies around.
Don't mind him. He's harmless. Thomas has been with us for quite some time now and still threatens to leave every day. He's all bark and wouldn't hurt a fly.
Who is Theo?
Oh, that's Thomas's son. He brings him here on occasion, so I'm sure you'll meet him. That boy is an angel and hardly complains, quite unlike his father.
That is so sweet. Where shall I put these?
Oh, don't worry about that, dear. Let me. Daniel will bring the rest in the morning. Your room has a lovely view of the garden.
Having a staring contest with the napkin?
Careful with the tablecloth. It took me ages to set.
Have you not done this before?
Are you this rude to every new maid?
Well, I guess that would be true if there were any other maids. I've only had Caroline to keep me company for 2 years now. And she never laughs at my jokes. Not once. It's great to have a new face around here.
You flatter me, Mr. Hollister.
And you flatter me, Thomas is just fine. Are you sure you don't need any help?
I'm fine. You're just distracting me.
Ah, my apologies. I just wanted to better introduce myself before I left.
You're forgiven. You do need to go, though. Dinner's almost ready.
Of course. I do have one question. Why drop everything to work here of all places? There must be better jobs in houses that are less empty.
If you must know, Mr. Deckard requested me directly. Who in their right mind says no to working here?
Plenty of people. Well, I guess I'd be curious too, but here's what confuses
Don't you dare upset Mr. Deckard on my first
Oh,
day!
he'll be mad regardless, trust me. Have you ever even worked as a maid before? Don't you just, paint?
I'll learn it quickly, all right?
Corners in. Flip. Corners in again. And petals out. Caroline has taught me a thing or two. Even she needs help sometimes. So, why did you accept his offer? Why run away from your fame?
You keep asking more questions.
I'm sorry, just curious. How about I answer a question in return?
You're hopeless. If you must know, I've been so cooped up. My grandparents forbade me from coming here, let alone go anywhere else. But a chance to get away and to live in this mansion, it's more beautiful than the pictures.
Sounds like quite the act of rebellion. How long will you be staying there?
At least a couple of weeks. My grandparents happen to be away on spring holiday in the mountains.
Clever. Well, I wish you the best when your grandmother drags you out the front door herself. I'll be out of your way now.
You owe me a question, remember?
I'm at your disposal.
Why do you work here? Did Mr. Deckard request you as well?
Mr. Deckard only requests for me when his toilet clogs.
Oh.
It was Caroline, actually. She's been a family friend for some time now. Times were tough, so she recommended me to Leonard when they needed a new handyman. God, can he be a pain sometimes. But it does pay well, and the hours let me get home in time to take care of my son. These last 2 years have been a blessing. For the most part.
Tell me about your son. Is he as brazen as his father?
His name's Theo. He's 5 years old and the funniest kid I know. Just yesterday, I caught him putting an entire stick of butter in Miss Donovan's purse. It melted when she went out in the sun.
So he's just like his father. I can't imagine what your wife is like. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is none of my business.
You're all right. It's been only me and Theo for some time now. Miss Donovan is my neighbor. She helps take care of Theo when I'm gone.
Still, I'm sorry for crying.
The past is the past. Theo's my whole world now. Well, him and Mr. Deckard, I suppose. See you tomorrow, Miss Weber.
Oh, before you go, what time are we expecting Mrs. Deckard tonight? Caroline said to set a place, but it's quite late now.
Mrs. Deckard's not going to show up no matter what Caroline tells you. She moved out years ago and she still has never visited.
Not even once?
They had a falling out 20 or so years ago, and that's all I know. Everything seemed all right when I first showed up, but after Mr. Deckard sold his company, he's just been wasting away.
But Caroline said she could return at any moment.
Of course she does, for his own sake. Doesn't make the line right, if you ask me. He needs to be able to move on. It's unhealthy.
Well, what happened then? Is Mrs. Deckard all right?
She likely came to her senses and left him for good. I know I'm getting tired of that man myself.
Well, he must be taking it pretty hard. They look happy in all their portraits.
She left decades ago, Lillian, and he still hasn't let her go. He's convinced himself that every day she's bound to show up at the front door like nothing was wrong. I understood at first, maybe, but now it's pure delusion.
What the hell are those doing in the house? Have you any sense?
Sorry, Mr. Deckard. My mistake, sir. It will not happen again.
I doubt it. Tablecloth's ruined. I'll knock his price out of your pay.
Sir, if I
As
may.
you finish the railing, Sarah will want to use the porch on her return.
It's nearly done, sir. It's just, I need to leave early to check on my son.
The nerve, Tom. I don't pay you to meander around the house and pester the help. Go back around the property.
Yes, sir.
And while you're at it, add a layer of compost and mulch under the lilacs. They'll be blooming soon.
Yes, Mr. Deckard.
Is dinner ready yet?
Almost, Mr. Deckard. Caroline last said 10 minutes.
Thank you. And you are?
sir. I started just this morning.
Really? Well, where are my manners? I am Leonard Dackert, former owner of Dackert Carriages.
Lillian Weber. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Mr. Dackert.
I'm sure Caroline chose your quarters and talked you through your duties.
Yes, sir. She seems to know every secret about this place. It's a beautiful estate.
My father bought this land over 50 years ago. He loved this house nearly as much as his company.
Yes, sir.
My goodness, those carriages of his only ever brought me disaster. The one time I visited the factory, my leg got caught in the carriage wheel. Caroline had a fit. Nearly forced my father to tear the whole place down. Did you know that?
No, I did not, sir.
She was the only one brave enough to question him. He respected her for it. My mother died when I was young, and so she practically raised me herself. Lovely woman.
Would you like anything else, Mr. Dackert?
No, that will be all. Just tell Caroline to please hurry with the food. I am famished.
Yes, sir.
Miss Weber,
Yes?
what on earth is wrong with this napkin? This crumbled like a ball of paper.
I'm so sorry, sir. A simple mistake.
Just have Caroline go over with you before tomorrow.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Would you like me to take Mrs. Dacker's plate away?
No. Just go check in on Caroline and bring the food in right when it is ready.
Yes, sir, right away.
Come in.
Good morning. Ah, what a beautiful day with the clouds passing by. We could go take a walk in the garden together.
Those clouds say a storm's coming. I have no desire to be rained on.
Suit yourself. I'll have Miss Weber accompany me around the grounds instead. She's been asking to sketch our flowers.
Well, all right. Just make sure she's careful around the lilacs. They are Sarah's favorite.
Yes, I'll tell her.
Is the statesman in there?
Yes, all of last week's issues. Daniel also brought the plain dealer this time.
Their writers swear I've gone mad. They know my carriages could not compete with those blasted motor cars. My only sensible option was to cut my losses and liquidate. I will not read their gossip.
I will make sure to tell Daniel. He did bring us a few jars of some lovely raspberry jam. Would you like me to use it for breakfast?
I don't see why not. Any mail?
Yes, mostly bills. Would you like me to put them in the drawing room?
Yes. That will be all.
Leonard, what is it? Do you remember the Leylands just down the road?
Don't tell me their damn dog got in the garden again.
Lord, no. Thomas fixed the cracked post in the fence.
Took that man long enough.
Mrs. Leyland is expecting. She swears that it's a girl and is already thinking of a name. Isn't that precious?
It's precious until it's their daughter that's breaking down my fence and devouring all of Sarah's lilacs.
Oh, nonsense. They sent us an invitation to a cocktail party this evening to celebrate the good news.
That's splendid.
You must attend. The Leylands invited us directly.
You know I don't bother with parties, Caroline. Sarah swore me off drinking.
I already accepted the invitation. It will be good for you to get some fresh air and socialize. Haven't talked to anyone in months. I planned for Miss Weber to accompany us as well.
The Leylands will not take kindly to me inviting over my own help.
They will make an exception. Having Leonard Dackert come to their dinner party will surely do wonders for their guest list. Lillian has been here over a week and has not stepped outside of her
appears I have no choice then. We arrive early and return in time for dinner. I will not stand for any mingling, and Tom stays.
I will tell Miss Weber to get ready. Anything else?
Tell Tom to weed the garden before we return. I'm fine, Caroline. Sarah will be back soon. I'm sure of it.
Yes, Leonard.
Mr. and Mrs. Leyland, the Dackard party is here.
What? Already? No one's expected for another hour. Welcome. It is such a pleasure to have you here. We're not quite ready for guests yet, but your visit has been long overdue.
Thank you, Mr. Leland. I do apologize for my untimely arrival. I hope it's all right that I brought along some of my help.
Oh, nonsense. How dare we refuse the company of an esteemed gentleman and two beautiful women? Oh, please, have a seat. And do forgive my wife. I believe she's still getting ready.
Oh, Robert, just because I am expecting does not make me any slower.
Mr. Dackard and Margaret Leyland, the light of my world.
Oh, Mr. Dackard, I am so glad you decided to come.
It's my pleasure. I wanted to congratulate you about the happy news.
Oh, isn't it exciting? Oh, Robert and I have always wanted a child, and finally our prayers were answered. And if my memory serves me right, you must be Caroline.
I still remember when your family last came to our house. You were just a baby.
Oh, that's right. Oh, it was such a special occasion to dine with the president. It is such a shame you never hosted another banquet, Mr. Dackard. And you are?
Lillian Weber, ma'am. I started working for Mr. Dackard only recently.
Oh, my goodness. Mr. Dackard, why didn't you tell us she was coming?
I'm sorry.
She's a star painter from Vermont. Oh, your paintings are just wonderful.
You are too kind, ma'am.
Could you paint something for us tonight? Something small. I'll have Samuel fetch some of my old things.
Oh, I don't think I
Don't
should.
pressure the poor girl, darling. We've already paid for that pianist for tonight, remember?
You're right. I'm sorry, dear. Why have you traveled all this way alone? I sure hope you aren't missing your big gallery opening.
Oh, that's not for another month or so. I'm here because the countryside air is good for my brushstrokes.
Fascinating! And right you are for visiting Concord. This is the perfect place to raise our child. How about a round of drinks? We've no cocktails ready at the moment, but I believe we have some fine bottles of wine.
Robert is obsessed with his collection. Sometimes I worry he loves his Merlots more than me.
How could I, when you age even better than they do? Mr. Dackard, do you prefer red or white?
I fancy neither, Mr. Leland. Believe me, I will not hear the end of it from Sarah.
I'm surprised she still keeps you in line. I've been too occupied with Margaret to even think of displeasing her.
I believe the correct word is worried, darling. Well, you barely been able to stand still. And you've already had a few tonight, so I think we'll pass for now. Thank you, Sam.
Leonard, please, humor me. Have you really sold Dackard carriages?
Yes, I have. This company was my father's legacy, not mine. He grew up driving the old and rich around in horse-drawn wagons and then built a whole business to construct them instead. He loved his empire more than anything in this world, and he raised me to carry on his legacy. which I sold to the highest bidder.
Why, that's awful. Well, you must have had no other choice.
Not at all. In fact, I was inclined to invest in the motor car production. I can only imagine what my father would think.
Well, I'm sure our other guests would love to meet you and hear more about your renowned father.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid we must leave before then. Thank you for your hospitality on such short notice.
Oh, well, don't be in a rush to leave just yet. It is such a shame that Mrs. Dackert could not also join us. I mean, have you received any word as to when she will be returning? It must be awfully difficult for you, being apart for so long.
Well, I'm sure it must be nice to have the house to yourself sometimes. She's been gone, what, 20 years now? I'm surprised you haven't remarried.
But Robert, behave yourself.
Mr. Leyland, if your poor hospitality is of any sign, then I would not be surprised if your beloved wife left you soon enough. Your race would charm from afar, you imbecile.
What? How dare you insult me and my wife in our house as our guests?
Some host you are. Our guests must pity you so incredibly to show up tonight. No wonder you nearly begged me to stay.
I am so sorry, Mrs. Leyland. Mrs. Dackert is still a sensitive topic.
Get out of our house, the lot of you. Mr. Dackert, your vile behavior is not welcome here.
Neither is yours at my estate. Come, Miss Weber. We must go await Sarah's arrival.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Mr. and Mrs. Leyland.
Marge, it was merely a jest. There's something that's gone wrong in that head of his. Darling, where are you going?
Evening, Miss Weber.
It's quite late, Mr. Hollister. Do you need me for something?
How are you? Caroline did not look pleased, and that's never a good sign.
I'm fine. Please don't worry about me. Caroline is back at the Leylands formally apologizing on his behalf.
He snapped and insulted them within 10 minutes, didn't he? He's going too far. That man only cares about his absent wife, who clearly no longer cares for him. Are you sure you're all right?
Heaven the gentleman. I'm sure Mrs. Dackert will visit eventually.
Lily, after 20 years, I still don't see why Caroline keeps humoring.
Well, we won't be hearing from the Leylands anytime soon.
It's not that big a shame. I've heard Mr. Leyland's wine collection is horrendous, and he forces his guests to try each one.
He was awfully proud of it.
And I'm not surprised. Well, I suppose I'll take my leave then. Theo will be furious if I'm not home in time to tuck him in.
I would still love to meet him if you ever bring him by the house.
I know he'd love to meet you too. I just have to keep him far away from the lilacs for my sake.
I am glad to have your company, Mr. Hollister.
As am I. Good night, Lily.
Good night, Thomas. Mr. Dackert? Mr. Dackert?
Oh no, she mustn't see me like this.
Oh, here, let me help you.
She'll smell my breath and throw a fit. Oh,
Mr.
God.
Dackert, please, it's all right.
Sarah, is that you?
No, Mr. Dackert, it's Lillian.
Leave.
I want to help
Leave me!
What the hell was that? Oh my God, Lillian, are you all right?
No, don't! Stay with me.
Okay. Okay.
Are you sure you'd like breakfast in your room, Mr. Dackert? Leonard, this room is in shambles. Leonard.
Did you iron Sarah's dresses?
Yes, but
And her
Leonard.
sheets changed?
No, not yet. I've been the only one working this morning. Miss Weber hasn't left her room.
Just have it done by tonight. Sarah may come home today.
Leonard,
It's
please.
Mr. Dackert. Caroline,
Yes, Mr. Dackert.
please help Miss Weber pack her belongings.
What? Why?
I've already called her family this morning. She is to return home immediately.
I don't understand what happened.
I told Daniel to pick her up early tomorrow morning. She's to be ready by then.
Leonard, please don't do this.
How did Miss Weber acquire her appointment here?
What do you mean?
How did she get to work here? I don't remember asking for another maid.
Leonard, I can explain. Just give me a moment.
No, we will discuss this tomorrow, after she leaves. That will be all.
Did you ask him?
Thomas, not now, please.
He needs to explain himself. Lillian refuses to tell me what happened last night. She's packing to leave, Caroline.
I can't even get him to leave his office anymore.
This needs to stop. Leonard has ventured far beyond a simple delusion. He needs medical attention.
Thomas, lower your voice. You know he'll never agree to see a doctor. What can we really do?
Well, we can start with this.
How
about-
dare you swipe that?
Oh, you don't think it's odd that Mr. Dacker's been getting so many letters from Lillian's family? Look, Mr. and Mrs. Weber. Well,
They've simply requested employment for their daughter. Leonard finally offered her a position.
then why are they still writing him? Why does he never show the letters or even write them back? What are they asking him for?
Thomas, stop. This will only make things worse.
We need to know what's going on, Caroline. So be it. Mr. Dackert! Mr. Dackert! Mr. Dackert, I just wanted to talk to you about...
Yes.
Well, I replaced the torn curtain.
I thought I told you to fix it days ago, Tom.
I know, sir. I was busy painting Mrs. Dacker's room, like you said.
And did you really finish the fence? The Leyland's damn dog can get in the garden again.
Yes,
The
sir.
flowers trampled to shreds.
Sir!
Could have killed her lilacs.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dackert. Sir, I wanted to talk to you about Miss Weber. Why is she leaving?
Get out. Unless you want to lose your job.
Yes, sir.
Polish the grand piano till you see your dim-witted reflection in it.
Yes, sir.
You're not in circles. Go along with the grain of the wood. Wouldn't want to remove the shine.
Did he tell you?
Of course not. God, even now I'm still terrified of him. I couldn't even take this out of my damn pocket.
Good, hand it over before you do something rash.
This is the only way to help, Caroline. We both need to know what's going on.
Thomas, this is not going to help. Please.
You already know what this says, don't you?
Please trust me. This is not for you to know.
He scared Lillian, Caroline. Nearly hurt her, I think. This has gone too far. Oh my God. Oh my God. And you knew this whole time. Why in the hell haven't you told anyone?
It's not that simple. I was trying to help him, Thomas. Please don't confront him. Please!
Thomas, what are you doing back here? I thought I told you to...
You need to explain yourself.
Hand me the letter, Thomas.
Why do you keep up this lie about her? To everyone, after all this time.
None of this is your concern.
And you never consoled with her family. Why can't you move on? Answer me!
Get out of my house before I call the police.
This is ridiculous.
Get out! Never should have hired you in the first place.
Please stop. I'll explain. Let me explain. I did confront him, Thomas, months ago. When he recognized her in the paper, I thought it was time. Maybe she could help him.
Caroline.
But the next thing I know, he's selling the company. Everything his father built down the drain. And then he couldn't stop talking about Sarah, like he'd seen her ghost. I was too scared to talk to him again. What if he did something worse? But he was getting worse. So much worse. I needed to try something. But now I brought her into this. She was happy without him. And he doesn't even recognize her anymore. My God, the guilt's killing me, Thomas, and now I've made them hate each other. I've done something terrible, haven't I?
Caroline, stop, please.
No, don't you go anywhere. I'll talk to Leonard. I'll sort this out.
I'm sorry, Caroline. I just can't take this anymore. I'll go get my things.
Caroline, could you come here for just a moment?
Leonard, I'm only trying to help you. Please say something.
Replace all the vases with fresh lilacs. Old ones won't do.
Oh, Leonard.
Caroline, I told you not to. Thought I made myself very clear.
Just came to drop off my keys.
We'll spit it out then.
I never liked you, Mr. Dapper. I never did. For all these years, you've frustrated me, insulted me, and belittled me. You've forced me to work late, leaving my kid alone for hours.
So why stay then? Angry you didn't get a raise? Is that what this whole tantrum's about?
I couldn't abandon Caroline. Do you even see what you're doing to her? She's been helping you lie to yourself, thinking there's no other way to get to you. You don't see how she's falling apart. While you stare at your empty front door, you're hurting the people right next to you. And I couldn't just leave here alone to wilt with you. She was there for me when I needed her. She still refuses to give up on you, which has now made this complete mess. I've had enough. And now Lillian, how dare you drag her into this? You need to stop lying to everyone.
How dare you insult me like this? Get out of my house!
She's dead, Leonard. Just Give it up already. You're destroying everyone.
You have no rights. You cannot begin to understand.
Yes, I can. She used to work here. Grace Hollister. Remember her? She loved this place to the core, like it was some kind of fantasy come true. And she adored Caroline like a sister. I always promised her I'd quit and work here one day. We still don't know how or why she got sick. It came out of nowhere. Caroline helped me move her back to the city. She fought it for weeks. She couldn't work anymore. She could barely hold our son. And I couldn't do anything. I had to watch her slowly waste away. I felt useless. You know how that feels. I stopped working. Could barely get myself to leave the house. Caroline reached out again and helped me get back on my feet. She recommended me to you, remember? And I thought I could find out why Grace left this place. I feel your pain, Leonard, but we are not the same. I got help and pushed through my grief instead of hiding away from it. For Theo, my son, I will never understand this hopeless lie you've imprisoned yourself in.
You think your little sob story means you know me? You have no power over me!
Is this what Lillian saw? Is that why she's leaving?
Lillian came to me because of you. She told me how threatened she was by you and your advances. Practically begged me to fire you.
Lie.
She was crying, Tom. Buckets. I told her how great of a man you are, how respectful you are, and how sad I'd be to let you go. Tom's a good man, darling. He can never do that.
Stop.
She was so distraught she left without a word. You must feel so heartbroken now your little lovebird wants to fly the coop. I bet you were hoping to sweep her off her feet so she could play housewife for you. What would your poor, departed wife think then? To be replaced so easily by another maid.
You know nothing about family! Are you really this desperate to hide from yourself? No wonder Sarah's parents blame you for her death. How did she die, Leonard? Tell me, how did she die? I wouldn't be surprised if you murdered her yourself.
Get out.
I came back to give you a chance to at least try and talk some sense into you for her sake.
You think I care what you believe about my Sarah?
I'm not talking about her. This is hopeless. Goodbye, Leonard.
Sarah? Sarah, you have no idea how I've missed you. Everything is ready for you. I've kept your bed and clothes clean, changed your curtains, and painted your room how you've always wanted. I waited for you every meal, every night. And your flowers. They're pristine and close to blooming. My love, my heart, rejoicing. They all doubted me. Even Caroline did. They all thought that you would never come back, but I knew. I knew. I never gave up hope. I'm sure you miss me too. I was so worried. Where have you been? Sarah?
You're insufferable.
Darling,
You are cold and cruel.
what are you saying?
You have no love for anyone. Pathetic.
That's not fair.
Look at you. You drink yourself to ruin and still pretend you're crippled. You coward. You haven't changed in the slightest.
Just tell me what's wrong.
You weren't there when I needed you. You abandoned me.
Stop, Sarah. Stop this, please.
There I was, all alone, bleeding all over our bedroom floor while you were passed out in your office. Caroline arrived too late. The doctors found me far too late.
Didn't know.
And the labor was excruciating, Leonard. Oh my God, it hurt so bad. I kept screaming out your name. At least you came in time to watch me die.
It was an accident. I was drunk. You knew I never wanted a child.
And you were so ashamed that you sent our daughter away. You could have saved me, Leonard. You coward.
I didn't know. I didn't. When I woke up, I just followed the voices upstairs and oh God. It was my fault. 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 heard her in time and hadn't been drunk, I would have been able to alert the doctor in time and I killed her.
She had already lost a lot of blood. They said there was nothing to be done. You need to forgive yourself.
I can't. How can I? I pushed Sarah away, left her alone, and I killed her. I'm cruel, Caroline, and I have to bear the guilt. Now here I go, pushing everyone else away. I am a monster.
I'm still here, Leonard.
Why did you stay? You never owed me anything.
You're my son, Leonard. I don't care about blood. You've always been a son to me. My parents passed away when I was a child, so I grew up in an orphanage. Never found a new family and didn't really want one then, to be honest. I left the moment I became old enough to go find work.
Why'd you never tell me this?
Because it stopped defining me a long time ago. You became my family the moment your father hired me to take care of his boy in need of a mother. I made peace with my parents so they could rest in my memories, and I could make room for you in my heart. You need to do the same, Leonard. You need to say goodbye to Sarah for you and Leah. Sounds nice.
Anything else I need to grab?
No, that's the last one. Thank you again for all your help.
No problem at all. It's the least I can do to offer you a ride to the station. Are you sure you don't have time to stay and explore?
I'm sorry, I can't miss this train. My grandparents are quite upset with me already.
Well, back to painting masterpieces, I suppose. At least come to the boardwalk with me and Theo first.
Does Theo like the beach?
He loves chasing the seagulls. He'll ask you to play in the sand with him, too.
I'm sad I never got the chance to meet him. Thomas, I don't think I'll be coming back here again.
I know. I doubt I will either. I'm looking for new work closer to home downtown. Miss Weber,
Yes?
I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't ask for any of this, but it's not my place to say.
You have nothing to apologize for, Thomas. You truly are a gentleman.
And you are quite the lady. Please, will you write to me about the many wonders of Vermont?
Of course. And I hope you'll send me word about your son.
I'll have him write you himself. He loves drawing too. He can be a painter himself one day.
It's all right. I'll just be a moment.
I'll wait outside.
Miss Weber,
Mr. Decker?
did Caroline hand you your salary?
Yes, sir, she did.
Good. I included gratuity, considering the unfavorable circumstances.
That was unnecessary, Mr. Decker, but thank you.
Miss Weber, there is something of a sensitive matter that I would like to discuss. It is quite difficult for me to confess, considering my recent behavior, but
You're my father, aren't you? This really is a beautiful painting, but that's not why I couldn't stop looking at her. At first, I thought it was sheer coincidence. She couldn't be my mother, there's no way. Yes, her portraits look so like all the photos back home, and yes, her favorite flowers were also lilacs, but still, it can't be her. Even as the truth stared me in the face, do you know why I never believed it? Because every day you said that your wife would return, that I would meet her soon. And I believed you. So she could never be my mother. But then that day in your office, I saw how you looked at me, how you thought I was her. I finally realized you were lying to me and to yourself.
Your parents never spoke with me?
They always said my father would never be around and that it was for the best. After a while, I just stopped bothering to ask, and then I became famous, so.
Yes, that's understandable. The right to be willing to protect your image from me, from what happened. I assume you surrendered my reasoning.
Not particularly. It would only hurt the both of us. What was she like?
She was everything and more. Each day together felt as if we were at the top of our own little world. She was so kind and strong, had a beautiful smile. She'll be so proud of you. Please reconsider instead. You no longer need my employment, of course. I will grant you anything you may need and ask you nothing in return. Do you accept?
I can't.
I know this is far too late, but I'm sure Sarah would want me to do this for you. I do wish to make up for my terrible neglect all these years. Please, let me do this for you.
Mr. Deckard, I am not Sarah. I never will be. You may write to me, if you wish. We can begin to know each other. And I would like to hear more about her, if that's all right.
That sounds suitable. Would you consider visiting in the future? For the countryside air to aid your restaurants, of course. I could use some more paintings around the house.
I'll consider it. Goodbye, Leonard. I do wish you well.
She takes after you. She is wonderful, darling. I'm so sorry. Goodbye, Sarah. Caroline, could you come here for a moment, please?
Yes, Mr. Deckard?
Would you care to accompany me to the garden? It seems like ages since we last explored it together.
I would love to, Leonard. Will you be all right, dear?
In time, I believe. Let's go before it gets too humid. I wonder if the lilacs are in bloom yet.